Hello and welcome back to Star Stable's Lore Timeline, the fourth part. This is an ongoing part series where I talk about each and every one of Star Stable's chronological events that contribute to its main story. In this video, I will be discussing the Star Stable Online era of the games and how our main character arrives in Jorvik and further events unfold. I recommend that you are already familiar with the characters and general main storyline of this game before watching, as I won't be going into too much detail in this video, for I will be covering all in-game events, but if you would like more detail, check out the full timeline document in the description. So let's get to it. Our character's story starts in Jorvik as we move there for the summer, taking our first riding lesson at Jorvik Riding Camp in Moorland. We become acquainted with all the Soul Riders and then experience a strange dream later that night. We ride through Misty Grove, following a ghost-like version of Frip, possibly the same ghost the Soul Riders saw in 1933. We pass Garnock's tentacles at Grumble and Gurgle and Pandoric crystals and runestones until we reach the island's runestone. Our interaction with the runestone disorients us into a vision, showing us standing between the Soul and Dark Riders, riding after a mysterious, mystical orb with them, and Garnock's tentacles rising above the ocean surface and engulfing Adine's harp. Informing the Soul Riders of our dream the following morning, Linda takes us to investigate it further as we discover the real runestone. Linda then opens up and tells us more about the Soul Riders and the legend of Jorvik. Becoming more friendly with the Moorland family, we then help resolve an ongoing family dispute by delivering old love letters of Catherine to Jasper, Justin's grandfather. Around this time, Lisa and Anne go missing as a light ceremony book is stolen by Dark Riders. Alex begins to become suspicious of Dark Claw's activity and pulsating Pandoric levels of the island's runestone. Starshine is left to wander Greendale in sorrow, and Concord dies in transit to Pandoric as the Dark Riders attempt to trap them there. Wandering around Doyle's Abbey, we follow Ghost Frip to a runestone where Alex is most likely measuring its Pandoric activity. She sparks up conversation and informs us more on Jorvik's legends. Linda joins in and quickly leaves again to continue research on the Baroness, which gets her locked up in Silverglade Castle. Media is confused by Sabine, which leaves them wandering Golden Hill Forest hopelessly. After helping Yidris set up his circus tent, we chase after a horse and its cloaked rider, leaving fiery tracks to retrieve the documents that proves Thomas Smallland's ownership of the stable. We present the deeds to the councilmen in Silverglade Village and stumble upon Harold, who speaks tales of hearing crying in Silverglade Castle, which is now locked up. Leaving us with only questions, we deliver cookies to Silverglade Manor, where the stable girl, Judy, mentions that Linda works there but hasn't been recently. Our curiosity gets the better of us and we notice the same horse in the stable that tried to steal the documents. Discovering Sabine is its rider, we try to get more information out of her, but she only passes us a letter to deliver to Thomas Moorland. Gasping in confusion after Thomas reads the letter, it is revealed that Justin has left on an urgent matter in regards to his grandfather, Mr. Sands. We immediately try to stop Justin from leaving with Alex, but the last we see of him are his final gestures of goodbye as a Dark Claw barge departs from the shore. Concerning the sudden disappearances of many friends, we decide to delve further into the Baroness's history with Alex as we find the marriage certificate between Mr. Sands and her. With our realisation that Linda is trapped in the castle, we plead with the Baroness to release her, but it's no use. Alex takes us to Valedale Village to discuss our recent findings on Sands with Elizabeth. She asks us to use the runestick on the 4 runestones behind her house. Activating all 4 of them, Elizabeth becomes astounded and informs us of her faction, the Keepers of Adine. Pushing these regards to the side, we venture into Firgrove Village to inquire about Sandman's history, which is actively being covered up by Sabine. Still managing to correlate Sandman with Justin's grandfather, however, Alex and Elizabeth agree that it's far too dangerous for him to be staying with him, Dark Claw's CEO. We set up a scheme to spy on Mr. Sands, in which we confirm that he was initially married to the Baroness. Presenting our conclusions to her, she finally unlocks the castle and Linda tells us to keep an eye out on any news. Suspicions begin to arise around the circus, so we go investigate and end up helping Idris collect 5-leaf clovers. Remaining secretive about his agendas, he instructs us to deliver them to the witch Pi in Golden Hills Valley. Linda informs us that those clovers are very rare and can carry additional magical properties. Becoming more familiar with the Soul Riders' business, Alex reveals to us that Lisa and Anne are officially missing. She recommends that we speak with the Druids to prioritise rescuing Lisa first, as she believes she is on Jorvik. Time and space unfolds. Everything is quiet, always in motion. We meet the Druids and Frip in the secret stone circle, for which they discuss our importance after activating all 4 runestones. Comprehending that all 4 Soul Riders are required to perform the light ceremony and defeat Garnock, Frip declares that we should at least save one of the missing girls. After the discussion, we are left with many questions as this hidden world of Pandora begins to consume our destiny. Some time has passed and we receive intel from Alex that Justin's horse Saga will be transported to Golden Hills Valley, where a Dark Rider under the codename of Malumi will seize him. Spying on the Dark Riders' transients, we manage to follow them into the Cauldron Swamp after discovering that the witch who resides there was once the mayor's wife. Observing Saga's entrapment in the cage, Pi spots us and kicks us out immediately. We then brainstorm with Linda on how we can transform Pi into the kind of human she once was. Bazinga! Linda knows just how to repair Pi's wicked state. She shares with us the origins of the golden apple tree across Jorvik and how they were taken down by witches as they could be used to turn them good. The remaining tree in Golden Hills still stands, however, so we attempt to race up there and snatch an apple. But there's only one problem. We can't get past the scarecrow's Pi bewitched. Elizabeth suggests we seek for Adian's Light, a precious fragment that can guide our way through Scarecrow Hill. After much searching and conspiring, we are able to enter Yalls' tomb, where we seize the fragment and retrieve a golden apple from the tree. Pi is reluctant to take the apple.
Stay in the box! No! Stay in the box! No! Get out of my skin!
But we still manage to convince her to eat it. Feeling like her old self again, Pi says that she was about to turn Saga into a dark horse as she has done previously, and then would be delivered to Dark Court the following morning. Alex decides that we need to sneak into Dark Court's oil rig to see what's really happening, so after a few organised plans, we make our way to the shore and claim our starter horse as the one to be delivered. Sneaking onto the barge, we arrive at the rig and spy on the General's conversation as our horse is presented to Justin. He immediately denies that it's Saga, while Mr. Sands admits he feels a strong power about our horse. Finally recognising that our horse belongs to us, Sabine spots us spying on them. Getting ready to leave in a haste, we offer Justin to leave with us, but he only rejects. We share our events with the other Druids and they believe that Mr. Sands has a light ceremony book to perform it backwards to unleash Garnock. We recover for some time after the events at the oil rig, but our solace is disrupted when James reports that he's been having terrible recurring nightmares. Constructing a dream machine with Alex and Mrs. Holdsworth, we see into James's mind where visions of Karcher are flashing around. Alex brings us up to speed on her experiences with Karcher previously, and that she has returned to Jorvik as a Dark Rider. Elizabeth encourages us to go spy on the Dark Riders again after James's visions, so we sneak back into the oil rig. Upon our eavesdropping, Karcher is welcomed back as a general, while Mr. Sands confirms our suspicions about using the light ceremony book to free Garnock. As the generals leave to have a feast in celebration of their progression, we intervene to speak with Justin secretly. He exposes that Lisa has been trapped within the Greydew Mountains, but immediately stops before revealing Anne's whereabouts. Justin promises to let us go quietly just this time, so we sneak back through the oil rig and report to Elizabeth, where she remembers that some important chapters of the Light Ceremony book remain. Our mission of retrieving the lost Light Ceremony pages split amongst 4 druids is assigned to us as we collect the first one from Spymaster. He tells us that another one is located in the Moon Chamber, but Linda hasn't been able to open it, as if she only has half of her powers. The Spymaster helps us relocate media and become reunited with Linda again, finally being able to open the Moon Chamber and collect the second page. Out in the vast mountains of Wildwoods, Sabine and Khan search for the 4th General, destroying runestones with Ronhammer, but turn up unsuccessful. We receive word from the Spymaster that a druid has gone missing up there, so we go and investigate. The leaders of the herds mention that fiery tracks have been appearing and the Pandoric balance of the Sentinel tree seems to be disrupted. We discover the broken runestone and help repair it, yet Sabine keeps an eye on our movements. One mission done, now on to the next. Jasper shrieks in confusion, calling us over to his pumpkin farm in Golden Hills immediately. We sympathise with his complexion over the mass amount of purple boulders plummeted over his farm. Reaching out to Pi to help us crack down on the cause of this mystery, she helps us sneak through a mountain range that is sleeping with pink and purple mist. We hide from shadow seekers along our route and discover the source of the boulders to be a Pandoric crack. With the help from Pi, Avalon and the Mayor, we create a machine to trap the shadow seekers and turn them into light creatures, and then use them to close the Pandoric crack. After our adventure, we ask Pi about Pandoria, but she says she will tell us when we're ready. Screams echo abruptly throughout the valley, and we head to Silverglade Village immediately to discover it under attack by Pandoric cracks and shadow seekers. We speak with Frip briefly in the Stone Circle, and he helps us train with the Lightning Circle and learn the skill of Soul Strike to be able to battle the shadow seekers. Returning to the village, we help remove the shadow seekers and seal all the cracks across Jorvik, huffing another sigh. The following days seem calm as we wander through Greendale Forest, only to find Starshine dragging himself hopelessly through the greenery. We share our information on Lisa's whereabouts, and we immediately head to the last place Starshine remembers they were at in the Grey Mountains. A silhouette of Lisa and Starshine burned into the side of the mountain catches our attention, yet our focus is drawn upwards to an array of pink beams. We discover a Pandoric crack and communicate with Lisa through it. She is in a very weakened state, but is able to tell us that Darkcore trapped her in Pandoria, and only the Sleeping Widow can help her. We conduct some research on the old primeval trees in Jorvik with Linda, and understand how they are all connected deeply, but the Sleeping Widow is asleep in sorrow of losing a companion tree. So with a little bit of this and a little bit of that, we awake the Sleeping Widow and plead for her to rescue Lisa as their roots are deep enough to reach Pandoria. Trying with all her might, she is unsure if she was successful in saving Lisa as we are interrupted by Sabine. Attempting to trap us and injure our horse, Lisa gallops in on Starshine and saves us from Sabine's wrath. In thanks for the Sleeping Widow's aid, it requests that we help reconnect its roots to another primeval tree, the one on Scarecrow Hill. We discover that Aiden's harp, an ancient relic, can help us do so, so with careful consideration from the museum, we are able to take it. Lisa plays the harp, the beautiful tune growing the roots of the Sleeping Widow to the other side as the Star Circle guides us across the water. Gracing the Sleeping Widow with fulfillment, she thanks us and we return the harp to the museum, while Darko remains unsuccessful in finding another way to transform horses into dark horses. He does, however, keep the failed experiment of Mr. Anwer for future use. Steering clear from monsters and trees since then, Alex tells us to use binoculars at Paddock Island and spy on Dark Horse headquarters. We only find Sonia screaming at the bottom of the cliff, claiming the Pandoric runestone threw her around. We report this hidden activity to Frip and he gives us a runestick to control and measure the runestones around the island as Alex does. On our second day of observation, we notice some suspicious activity over at Darkcore, so we report it to Linda. We end up heading over to headquarters and spying on the Dark Riders again. Expressing his disbelief that Justin is the fourth general for he possesses no magical abilities, Darko reveals that he will be searching for the last Dark Rider that he made a Dark Horse for, and then they can commence the Dark Ceremony. We report back to Linda since she sincerely fears Justin's safety as Darkcore may have no further use for him. Linda, Lisa, Alex and us immediately decide that Justin needs saving, so we collaborate with Mrs. Holdsworth to use a metamorphosis potion to sneak us and our soul horses onto the Darkcore barge. Although our plans don't exactly follow through, we manage to make it together at the oil rig. As we wander through the headquarters, we notice that all of the guards are forcing Justin to walk the plank. The Soul Riders travel ahead, but a door behind us opens, revealing Mr. Sands. He says Darko wanted to get rid of Justin, which he doesn't really want, so he allows us to sneak in and save Justin. Unfortunately, we are too late. Justin has been pushed off. Gasping in astonishment, we start to hear a voice, our soul horse's voice. All of a sudden, our horse grows wings and Aiden guides us down to save Justin, returning to Golden Hills Valley with the other Soul Riders. The keepers of Aiden are not happy with Justin's alliance with Darkcore, so they quickly send him to Druid Jail. Frip continues to discuss other matters, that Anne could be saved through a keystone to Pandora that will take us directly to her prison. We travel with Linda to the Stonecutter's Vault to find this keystone, speaking to Magnus Steiner, the ghost and once fine blacksmith in Jorvik. We pass his prescribed test of restoring the runestone in the middle of the vault and awards us the keystone to Pandoria. Returning to Frip in the secret stone circle, he warns us of the dangerous side effects and environment of Pandoria, asserting that only guardians can travel through. He activates a portal through the keystone and we travel through the chaos space and into Pandoria, where Anne lays lifelessly before us in a pink crystal. She is awoken by our presence, expressing how long she feels she has been trapped and that there is no hope to stop Garnock. Our time is cut short, however, as Darko steps in. Summoning part of Garnock to destroy us, we manage to dodge his many tentacles and thorns as we just make it back to the stone circle. But we are not alone. Darko has followed us through the portal. He immobilises the Soul Riders in his own magic and approaches us to abduct us until Frip destroys the keystone himself, absorbing a huge blast of magic as it sends Darko and Garnock back through the portal. Frip begins to fall very ill and recommends we speak with Evergrey, an exiled druid. All adventures aside, we meet up with Evergrey in New Hillcrest alongside Avalon and Lisa. Evergrey shares his knowledge with us and takes us to Guardian's Dale, where a valley of grand horse statues, a broken statue, and a staircase falls before us. Believing that the destroyed statue contained a keystone to Pandoria, Evergrey says that this place is the only way to get to the pink dimension, but all 4 soul horses and a keystone are required. Lisa quickly rushes off to deliver word to the others on Concord's prioritization, as Linda recommends we use some form of compulsion in the Pandoria Codex to find his whereabouts. Although mysterious forces spy upon us, Evergrey takes us to the Mirror Marshes to use a celestial wayfinder, which will help us get into Pandoria for a brief time to collect Pandorium needed to craft a new keystone. Fetching the Pandorium and Conrad Marsden from Moorland, we introduced him to Magnus Steiner as he begins training to craft a new keystone. As we leave the Stonecutter's Vault with Linda, we notice a Dark Core drone nearby and she comes up with an idea to force the Dark Riders into a challenge to reveal Concord's location by the Code of Pandoria. We manage to follow through with our plan with the other Soul Riders, confronting Katja and challenging her to the Golden Apple Race at Scarecrow Hill. Whilst we race her, Katja displaces us into a nightmare world and almost beats us, but with a little help from the other Soul Riders, we come first place. Hesitantly accepting defeat, Katja admits that Concord was supposed to go to Pandora with Anne, but did not survive the journey. Katja's cackle as she galloped away continued to haunt our ears after a few days, but our dismay is resolved as Elizabeth says Concord is a starbreed, a horse carrying Aiden's light that can potentially become a guardian, which includes our own soul horse. We speak with Rhiannon, a wild whisperer who can find starbreeds. She confirms that we have the same gift she does, so we head around to the different locations and seek the potential in different bowls. Whilst we turn up unsuccessful, Rhiannon suspects that Justin also carries wild whispering gifts and proposes to Elizabeth that he connects to a life warden tree to ultimately search for the perfect Concord. Elizabeth, however, refuses. Alex shakes her head, calling for a meeting with all Soul Riders. She suggests that we break Justin out of Druid jail. Unexpectedly, Loretta knows how to get in and she helps us sneak past the guards and break Justin out. He expresses his gratitude, but there is no time to lose as Rhiannon and the others are already onto us, so we race to Southwood Peninsula with Alex and Justin. With Linda's research on the Whisperer's Cry, Justin is able to connect to the Singing U and his wild whispering abilities are enhanced. Although he is overwhelmed by all he is experiencing, he finds Concord. The other druids catch up to us, conveying their disappointment as they could not trust Justin's loyalties with Dark Core. They take Alex away after her assistance in Justin's escape, and Justin says he will tell us where Concord is when he is ready. A call and some lasagna later, Justin tells us that Concord is somewhere at Idris' circus. We head up there with Linda, only to be evicted by some sort of magical border, blocking us from entering. Not even moon magic could help us get through. We seek help from Pi and she says Idris used a different kind of magic that will require a potion of untruth seeing to allow us through. We help to craft the potion and consume it at the circus where a labyrinth of purple walls are revealed before us. We sneak into the circus tent to find Idris performing a show with Baby Concord and a group of white Lusitanos. Attempting to reason with Idris, he denies our request and turns us into a horse to race against the other transformed Bobcat girls. We win and he transforms us back, so we head to Evergrey and Bonnie in Silverglade Village for advice. Bonnie says she can craft a cosmic clock, which will place Idris from his warped Pandorian time into our time, where his powers will become minimal. Situating the clock in front of Idris, his powers are instantly reduced and he agrees to give us Concord in return for the device's destruction. We agree to the deal and he leaves us with a 5-leaf clover. We become reacquainted with Concord at the Druid paddock, and Rhiannon tells us that Concord is not the same as he was previously with Anne, but rather that she is a mare. After some experiments with potatoes to ensure our success in Anne's rescue and some final finalisation, we collect the finished keystone from Conrad when we find our horse is missing. Following footsteps in the snow, we track down to Sabine, who is thrusting her powers at us. Our sawhorse comes in and saves us as we turn and twist our way out of Sabine's magic. Alex and Lisa help us out of her entrapment and we all travel through a portal to Epona with the other Soul Riders to camp the night as Lisa plucks the strings of her guitar and sings "I'll Be There." The sun shines over the cityscape of New Hillcrest and we are ready to rescue Anne. We briefly chat to Evergrey as he mentions the trials and Catherine, which perplexes us, but Elizabeth snaps at him. As each of the Soul Riders and Guardians say their lines, we help Lord Concord say hers and a rotating portal of pinks and purples forms before our very eyes. Coalescing, we ride through the chaos space and collectively stare at Anne curled up in a crystal prison. Our sorrow is interrupted when Darko appears behind us, transporting Alex and us into a separate controlled location where monster Mr. Anwer chases us down. Using our soul-striking abilities, we manage to take him down and return to Anne where Concord rides ahead and breaks Anne out of her prison. No wall of crystal stands between us and her now. Whilst grateful to be saved and happy to see her friends again, Anne is infuriated at how helpless she was and that Darko killed Concord. We try to assure Anne as we become acquainted, but Darko once again is trying to stop us by closing our only portal home. We race back, carrying Anne on our horse. We all pass through the portal, but find Tin Can without Alex. Without saying a word, we follow after Elizabeth through the portal where we catch her saving Alex from Darko's wrath by taking it instead. Blowing her to smithereens, Darko is pushed off the platform from his own blast and Alex sits traumatised. The chaos space falls dark and grey as our portal closes, as if we were to be trapped there forever. Feeling swaying content with our loss, a voice can be heard, Lisa's voice. We follow the light through the space as Lisa guides us to create our own way back to Jorvik. We return with Alex to the familiar strums of Lisa's guitar and take some time to recover from all recent events. After a special and exclusive memorial for Elizabeth, we head to Golden Leaf Stables to venture on the Light Ride, where it is said that Aideen may become present in the bond between horse and rider. Before we head off, Linda tells us of a vision that she just had, that we are in grave danger. With no time to discuss it further, we embark on our journey into the mountains where Alex finds a 5-leaf clover. Passing through Aideen's whisper one by one, we enter a space of characters we know upon pillars as glowing mushrooms guides us through to the ghost of Catherine. We speak with her, asking many questions yet only receiving an instruction to seek for her as we might be that girl. Time and space unfolds and we are brought back to reality, immediately unloading what we experienced onto Linda. Suggesting we research Catherine as she is Justin's mother, we look into her old diary, but it is worn down and barely readable. Through the use of moon magic and fragments of Catherine's memories, we are able to look into her past where we see her bond with horses and people. However, events take a turn for the worse after training in all 4 Soul Rider circles as an accident occurred on ice where Starshine nearly drowned and the 5th statue in Guardian's Dale broke after tampering with it with Evergrey. Linda takes time to recomplete Catherine's diary as we are faced with a new agenda, saving Frip. We reunite with the other Soul Riders as Anne expresses her separated feelings from the Keepers of Aideen. Discussing ways to revive Frip with Mrs. Holdsworth, we eventually conclude that Pandori's Hope, Nick Stoneground's fridge, along with Idris's help and the 5-leaf clover can help us return him to his normal state. With some deal making here and fridge fetching there, we set up the ritual to heal Frip as Anne has wandered off. Sustaining a new and improved look, Frip jumps up brightly and disregards Idris running off with the Pandoria's hope. Frip explains that he isn't Pandorian, rather just a cosmic being who is sorry and proud of the Soul Riders for their effort. Linda is suspicious of Anne though, and that she may have gone to Pi to use the 5-leaf clover to transform Concord. We head to the Cauldron Swamp where we help re-transform Pi from a horse into her usual self. Explaining that she attempted to transform Concord but then it backfired onto her and transformed her into a horse, Pi directs us to where Anne abruptly left as we follow her tracks into Hollow Woods. A mysterious fog drapes over the greenery and exposed roots, and the squawks of crows sends Pi away quickly. All of a sudden, lightning strikes down and we are forced to race through the woods against the unfamiliar magic. We reach Anne on the other side and betray our support for her in wanting to transform Concord. A meeting is quickly set up by the Keepers of Adine to discuss Anne's recent rogue behaviour. We inquire about the mysterious magic and Frip says that it is ancient, unrelated to Garnock or Pandoria. Still standing strongly on transforming Concord, we head back to Cauldron Swamp where Pi cowers in fear. She is not willing to help us, but directs us to Mrs. Holsworth if we want to learn more about the Father. Heading to her cottage in Moorland, we do not find her there, but Cora meets us with a message from the Spymaster that she is in Fort Maria Library. Anne ponders on where Mrs. Holsworth got her information on Pandoria's Hope, and we all head out to Fort Maria. The mysterious force lingers as obstacles lie ahead of us, but we dodge the lightning and make it to the thorny entrance of the library. No chainsaw or magic prove useful to remove the barricade, so we eventually are directed to seek help from Scott Buttergood as he has a knack for hunting unusual creatures. Agreeing to help him hunt for the Caprin, we discover Beatrice, who is a casual goer to and from the library. She asks us for favour in return to show us a secret way to get into the library. A few days later, we make our way into the seemingly endless library, navigating our way through the puzzles where we eventually reach Mrs. Holsworth. She discusses that the books are a source of power that must be kept from the Vala, a group of ancient and mysterious witches who seem to be active again. Recalling her research to help transform Concord, Mrs. Holsworth finds Jessica with her stolen papers. We race after her outside, finding her discoursing with a live Vala witch who desperately wants the papers. Immediately scattering the papers everywhere, we race against cloned versions of Jessica to retrieve Mrs. H's research and are free of the two for now. Recommending we seek out the Vala in Devil's Gap, Mrs. H shares her research of the Vala being involved in Galliper Thompson's days, cursing him for eternity and causing destruction to the Wheeled Weave. She further discusses settlers known as the Margoi, who were in search for a secreted library that Mississippi Jones was part of, and even drew an enchanted map connecting the Wheeled Weave to the Forgotten Fields. Just as we are about to hear about the secrets of the infamous fridge doors, Little Miss Brat had to demand to go on an adventure, run into some bookcases and reveal a hidden door. We ventured down deeper into the library, finding a shrine of Mississippi Jones's original enchanted map where we conclude that the network consisted of primal trees' roots used for safe travel. Wondering about how we can start the network again, Anne remembers that a life-warden seed was buried in Yonnyar's grave, so we head to his tomb, pass his inquisitive test and receive the seed. On our way back to the library, we meet the Dark Riders who are transporting a Draconium shipment. They demand for Concord in return for our safety, but Anne instantly declines, opening a Pandoric portal that she struggles to control. Hell breaks loose and the shipment is at jeopardy of destruction when all of a sudden, the Vala Witch appears again. She introduces herself as Scythe and directs us through a portal to safety, but before Lisa, Linda and us can make it, it closes. Coming to a mutual agreement with the Dark Riders, we help remove the Pandoric destruction and get help from Pi to nurture the Life Warden seed to reactivate the Wild Weave where we can reach the other Soul Riders in Devil's Gap. After nurturing the seed for some time, a portal is formed underneath Fort Maria Library, so we travel through it, admiring the beautiful stillness of the area. We reach the other side and end up in Devil's Gap, navigating through its tall cliffs to where the other Soul Riders and Scythe are. We ask if Scythe can perform Concord's transformation in exchange for the 5-leaf clover, and she says we must go to the Pool of Pandemonium to prove ourselves prepared. Travelling alone, we hear voices of the Dark Riders discussing that the 4th General will arrive soon. A dark, smoky figure stands before us and jump scares us as we move closer.
$19 Fortnite card. Who wants it?
Not cool, Star Stable. My heart skipped a few beats that day. Anyway, then we help Anne find a strong memory with Concord to aid the transformation, deciding that the strongest one was the night before the dressage competition in France before they both went missing. We then perform the ritual, Sive drawing power from the pool of pandemonium. Concord is transformed into a mature age, but the pool of pandemonium becomes out of control and grows into a vortex. Racing against the magic of Devil's Gap, Sive manages to control the storm momentarily as we catch our bearings in the Forgotten Fields. We collectively huff a sigh and take a memorable photo, although other activities are occurring elsewhere. Sabine approaches Sive, in which she shares that she is neutral to the Soul Riders and Dark Riders, serving as a balance between good and evil. Aggressively shouting at Sive, Sabine demands to know where the fourth general is after her search remains unsuccessful, in which Sive says that she is caught in the bramble between. Giving Sabine Runhammer, she expresses that the splitting maul can be used to reach the fourth general and build the gate. Discussing our experiences with Frip, he delegates a task to help translate the Jorvik Gigantica with Evergrey as we go on a mission to Dew's farm. Frip finds an abandoned draconium shipment that may have been impacted by the Chaos Vortex. We look into the documents kept in the safe and find a map with coordinates of mining locations and a shard of pure draconium transformed into a fuel cell. We report back to the others, explaining that Dark Core are using fuel cells to build the portal that will unleash Karnok, and that neutralising the shipments are our priority. We go with Anne to Valedale Lake where we meet Jessica, attempting to stop her but failing to do so as she gets away. Teleporting the shipment elsewhere, Anne and us return to Frip where he instructs us to continue our missions as he searches for light ceremony pages within the library. Having translated the Jorvik Gigantica, we discover that the Nurtured Life Warden tree is a rogue tree named Grimber. We decide to speak to it and it expresses that something is poisoning the Wildweave and the Soul Riders must act fast. Taking this information into account, Frip alerts us of more draconium shipments on the loose, so we split up to neutralise them. We go with Frip to South Hoof, finding the barrels to be empty and realising it was a setup all along. Frip heads off to save the world, and we regroup with the other Soul Riders in Hollow Woods, spying on the real transportation of the draconium. Anne suddenly remembers reading about a rare bit of magic that acts as a black hole, displacing things where they belong. Helping Anne to summon this portal, a black hole appears above the shipment and sucks it up, dumping it over Dark Core headquarters, causing explosions and for the oil rig to sink. Although the Dark Riders accepted defeat that day, they dismissed the matters of the oil rig as Orisa cartwheels through a generated portal, welcomed by Mr. Sands as the fourth general who is sure their plans will succeed soon. Sometime later, Alex suggests we inform the jewels of Dark Core being sunk, but most of them have already gone as Avalon assures them they know and are about to look for the lasting light book pages. Alex receives a text message from Maya, saying there is a lost little girl she knows and that we should meet her at Goldspur's farm. Perplexed on this matter, we head to the farm as we notice creepy dolls around, meeting the fourth Dark Rider, Orisa. She introduces herself playfully but casts down her frustration onto Maya, riding off swiftly. We are able to track her down while Alex stays back, following her into a meeting with the other generals in Devil's Gap. Having an active dispute, Orisa summons Darko from banishment as they realise our presence. Darko quickly states that Orisa is strong and powerful, teleporting us to the rural coast of South Hoof where we are reminded of our fate at the beginning of the game. The Soul Riders regroup and agree to begin training while they wait for the jewels to return with the Lightbook pages, as a dark ceremony could be performed at any time. We discuss with each of the Soul Riders individually, noting that the light ceremony is all about balance, bringing more light than darkness. And just like that, we begin to prepare for the end. And that concludes the fourth part of the Timeline series. Wow, this game has come far with its story and it seems it will be ending soon. I would like to say a big thank you and give credits to MysteryChum on YouTube, as they have recorded most of the main story quests that I have used for research and in this video. A link to the playlist of their playthrough is in the description. Of course, the main quests aren't over, so at the end of every year, I will be making a timeline video covering the main quests within that year to add on to the series. Thank you everyone for supporting me throughout this documentational process and uploads. It means so much to me. I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.